Welcome, everybody, to the Swiss Army Man Podcast, episode number 10. My name's Tone Gordon, and you are back listening to, obviously, the Swiss Army Man Podcast. So today's going to be a really kind of goofy, fun one. We're going to talk basically just about pretty much like two topics. And one of the topics will be like the big bulk of the whole thing. So to start out, I did want to talk about the big WWE news, which was CM Punk coming back to the WWE. He came back on Backstage, is I believe what it's called. It's I think it's on FS1. Came back, and then he said he was going to be back the next day as well. So looks like CM Punk is back into the realm of the WWE, which is very interesting because obviously he hasn't had a great relationship with the WWE in the last couple of years, and it seemed like that probably wasn't going to be something that would happen very anytime soon under any possibility. But moving over to Fox, maybe they push to get more people over and come see, and they want to bring back some of their more popular athletes. And one of those, obviously, is CM Punk. CM Punk took the WWE world by storm for a little bit there, and he had a pretty awesome following, obviously known for the pipe bomb speech that he did, and then went over and fought some MMA. Didn't do so well, but he's an interesting guy who does seems to be somebody who thinks for themselves and thinks of the ways that he wants to see things, and then goes for it. So it'll be interesting to see that energy in the WWE again, and I don't really know how long term it is or what it is, but if he's back full time, he's probably getting paid pretty well. So definitely somebody who can change the atmosphere of anything going on, and definitely be interesting to see if he gets back in the ring. So far, Backstage is basically like a talk show. It's almost like The View for wrestling, and it's a pretty interesting show actually if you haven't watched it. But they basically do their show sitting in a ring in a studio that's has no fans in it, and it's like kind of like a backstage feel, but it's a full blown show that's really, really interesting to watch. They get into some, they bring back so far what I've seen, a couple of ex athletes or ex WWE stars, and even some current ones as well, but they talk about matches and they talk about some of the older stuff. The one I was watching, I think might have been the first one or the second one. They basically broke down the importance of the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus the Macho Man Randy Savage in WrestleMania 3. So it was very interesting to see like an inside perspective on things. And if you're a fan of mine, then you know that I'm a fan of Pat McAfee, which is part of the reason why I like Pat McAfee. All on top of the fact that he's just an incredibly funny human being, he does have like different viewpoints. So kind of like I wouldn't say he's like a CM Punk, but like somebody who looks at things that are typical one-way views and then kind of turns them slightly sideways and gives you that view, and makes that like an interesting vibe for you to like kind of learn more and think of things from somebody who's done it, but in a different way. So yeah, so that's a pretty big thing that happened. Next up, which is going to take the bulk of the rest of the show, we're going to talk about Disney Plus. So Disney Plus is a new streaming platform that launched from Disney, obviously, and much like Netflix, it's $6.99 a month, I believe, right now, or $12.99 a month, and you get Hulu and ESPN Plus, which is what I did. So I have that. I did the $12.99 package. I also have Netflix. I'm not planning on getting rid of Netflix anytime soon. And I actually had an interaction with somebody, I can't remember who it was, about Netflix being dead, basically. I don't think so. That's part of what I wanted to talk about is today, Netflix announced that they did a partnership with Nickelodeon to produce new Nickelodeon shows, and probably, I'm gonna guess, I haven't read all of it into it, and I don't think there's even this information out there, but the having some of their old stuff on the platform. Some of that stuff, if I'm mistaken, you have like some cool retro stuff like Hey Dude, Salute Your Shorts, which I'd be super pumped on because that's like one of my favorite shows of all time. On top of like the original Doug, Ren and Stimpy, all that kind of stuff you would have laying around, which could definitely fill up a big void of stuff that they've lost from the new system of Disney Plus and a couple of these other um, companies that are going to come out with streaming platforms. The streaming platform should get real interesting because as of now, you still need to have like a real cable program if you want live sports and stuff. Like for me, who lives in Colorado but wants to watch the Lions play, I can't just do that any kind of convenient way without having like DirecTV or something, which is why I have DirecTV. So it'd be nice to eventually be able to cut that cord if enough of these streaming platforms come out, and then also you can get sports in a really cool way once maybe that ESPN or the NFL license comes up, and maybe a place like DAZN or Hulu or whoever. I'm just naming stuff. Amazon has it. Then maybe the cord cutting would become more viable for me as a person. But I love live sports and I love having that option. I don't love all the other channels, so it's kind of a waste but to have live sports is really awesome. And so we'll see how ESPN Plus. I haven't gotten to the nuts and bolts of that and see how that works, but it should be pretty interesting because it is ESPN Plus. So, but with Nickelodeon getting acquired the rights to, or Netflix acquiring the rights to Nickelodeon, you will have some of those extra shows come over, which could keep people's interest and obviously keep them maybe keeping both platforms, which is very viable. If you're paying $6.99 and I think $12.99 for whatever Netflix is now, you're paying like $20. And if that's a bulk of shows, it's a ton of shows. Netflix is going to give you obviously all the Netflix originals. You're going to have the stand-up comedy, all of that kind of stuff. Disney has a pretty like deep catalog of stuff, which is pretty impressive actually when you start digging into it. And that's kind of what I'm going to end with. Is I just kind of went through. I've only watched like one or two things with my kids, and because they wanted it. My oldest daughter grew up loving that Jonas show, the Jonas Brothers show. So she watched a couple episodes of that last night when we got it. And then my son, who's 2.5, loves the new Muppet Babies. So he watched a bunch of Muppet Babies this morning on it. So, but I decided to kind of look into it, dive into it, and see some of the stuff they have on there. And just from like a quick scroll of like series A to Z and movies A to Z, a lot of movies. So, I'm very, 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 very interested in seeing a bunch of these movies. I think this platform is going to be absolutely revolutionary, though, because you're going to see a shift for the first time in a while. You have Netflix, which is very interesting because I use this as a standard bearer across when I talk about companies. I say they have a blockbuster mentality. Blockbuster obviously got put out of business by Netflix. They had the opportunity to buy Netflix. They were the top of the mountain, and they were like, there's no reason for us to change. We are the standard bearer. But like anything, things change. And if you don't adapt, then you go out of business. So Netflix has now put themselves in a spot where they are the standard bearer. They are the new blockbuster. They will put themselves at the top of the mountain. Now, let's see how they adapt once they have this competition. They've definitely shown all of these other companies that, hey, look at this is a viable platform. If you have the right stuff, people will pay. Netflix is a standard across everybody's household, I'm going to guess. The amount of households that don't have Netflix is probably very, very slim. Everyone from my 2.5-year-old son to my 11-year-old daughter to my 12-year-old daughter to my wife to me to my parents, all of us use Netflix. It's something that is very accessible, easy to use, and has a lot of stuff to choose from. A lot of different things all in one place. So let's see if these other companies can continue on to that and move the needle in the way of saying, okay, we're going to do this and make it a viable spot to do. Because it's easy to get into the thing, or it's got everything we need, or we're going to continue to create original content around it. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see all of that kind of stuff, because everything's becoming so on demand. It's part of the reason why podcasts are popular. It's part of the reason why it'd be interesting. I would go out on a limb and say it'd be very, very interesting to see if somebody could, in a Netflix or a Disney Plus realm, do a podcast, but a video form on one of these things, on either Netflix or where you get it on Netflix. It'd be very interesting to see. Be a good way to bring the audio or the video side away from YouTube to a streaming platform, while still making it free to listen to. Because obviously that's one thing about podcasts. Being free is a very big thing for them, but also being able to monetize them. So maybe swinging the video form under a platform, could be very interesting. So I'm going to take a quick drink, and then we're going to get into the top 5, which became a top 10 because there's so much stuff to watch on there. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Disney platform is incredible. Like, just super incredible. I just scrolled. I did like a 2-minute scroll, and I found at least 10 things I wanted to watch. So here we go. Got my list, and I haven't even ranked them, to be 1,000% honest with you. I literally just went down them, and so I'm going to rank them as we go here. Number 10, so starting from the least wanting to watch, which I still want to watch, is the movie The Rocketeer. I saw this in theaters when I was a child. It was an absolute awesome movie. Can't wait to watch it with my kids and look at how it is. And I'm sure it's not as great as my mind keeps it, but definitely going to be something super solid and really fun to watch and do introduce to my kids, because that's really what this Disney Plus thing has going for it, is people my age and probably a little bit older and a little bit younger now having kids are going to be reintroducing the stuff they loved as kids into their kids, and it's going to be like a really cool bonding stuff for watching these. So number 9, Rookie of the Year. I've seen it recently, in the last 3 years. The Rookie of the Year is one of the greatest baseball movies. I love just the goofiness of it, and just the fun around it. And I saw it on there, and I'm like, man, I'm definitely going to have to watch it with my kids. Again, goes back to that theory. It's a good movie that's going to hold up and definitely be interesting to my 11 and 12-year-olds, and as they're watching it for the first time. So number 8, I'm going to go with Cool Runnings. Cool Runnings is another awesome movie that you can't really pass up watching. It's going to be awesome, especially when it's just sitting there on the ability to stream. Cool Runnings is really cool. We have where I live in Colorado, we actually have Olympic training stuff. So my kids are very attuned to see Olympic rings all around. And so having an Olympic story with it, and just being funny, and all of the cool things that came with that movie will be very interesting to watch with my children. Cool Runnings was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I loved watching that movie. I think I watched it probably I'm a big sports movie person. So if you put any movies in front of me, Major League might be my favorite movie of all time. I literally watched it probably 1 billion times since I was 5 years old. A lot of cursing, so don't judge my parents, but I learned how to curse from that movie. Thank you, Charlie Sheen. So next up, we'll do number 7 here. Number 7. Oh, Meet the Deedles. Meet the Deedles was a funny movie. I watched it a bunch as a kid. And I definitely thought it would be a pretty funny movie. I haven't seen it in a hot minute, and probably going to be one of those movies that either I'm going to be like, well, why did I like this movie? Or I'm going to be like, this movie's great and hilarious. But some good stuff on there. Meet the Deedles. I was pumped when I was scrolling through and was like, oh yeah, Meet the Deedles. It's super awesome. So we'll go with that movie being number 7. And then moving over, let's see, we got number 6. Oh, number 6 is going to be Blank Check. Blank Check is another great movie. Basically, a kid gets a blank check and he does what he wants with it. It's a pretty simple plot there. And he's definitely gets into some hijinks, obviously, like most of these movies are. A very simple plot with a little more in-depth like backstory of the things that they can get into. So Blank Check, I think, will be an interesting one for my kids to watch, because they have never seen this movie. They've never seen a lot of these movies, because they're just those movies where you're like, they're funny and they kind of were like big in the moment, but like never really held up. They're not like, obviously, like Shawshank Redemption and stuff. So be interesting to see a bunch of these like movies that are like just fun movies. Then from there, I'm going to go and slip into a TV series, which is what most of the rest of them are, and that's Doug. And I know what you're thinking. Doug is a Nickelodeon show, but for some reason, Doug the movie, and then after Doug was done on Disney for, it's like a 3-year. I've never seen them, so I'm very interested to see what after Doug the Nickelodeon show stopped onto what it was. It's the same animation. Doug looks the same. So it'll be interesting to see what he got into after he, I think he graduated at the end of the original Nickelodeon series, but I'm not sure. But yeah, to see what all that was. It's like three seasons, I'm pretty sure, on there. So very interested to see that. So that was number 5. Then we're going to kick into number 4, Boy Meets World. Boy Meets World, super interested in, for the simple fact that my daughters really loved Girl Meets World when it came out, which is also on there, but they've seen all of them. To see it go back into what the original was and where that all came from will be very, very cool. And I know they'll be super interested into it. So I'm definitely looking into sitting down and watching that. My wife, that was the one we were going through, and I said it to her and she was like, oh, that'd be so cool to watch. So like, I know that's like going to be probably the one that we start with as a family, just to watch through and to see what we can rewatch on that. Cause that's a pretty cool spot. You can't really go wrong. That's a classic. Boy Meets World's freaking awesome. So then from Boy Meets World, we're going to go to Even Stevens, which I absolutely loved. It's where I got introduced to Shia LaBeouf. Chris Carlson Romano. Obviously, Shia LaBeouf went on to do a bunch of stuff, and Chris Carlson Romano was the voice of Kim Possible. I love this show. I actually debated between this show and Lizzie McGuire, just because I like stupid shows like that where they're just dumb, and it's part of the reason why I can still kind of watch some of the Disney shows now, because it's just the same, some of the same formula. But you just didn't. They were just something about them back then. Even Stevens, I think, is something that my kids will definitely like enjoy watching as well. So like that's kind of like when I was going through this list, I was trying to figure out things that like I was like, okay, my whole family's going to enjoy this. So I think Even Stevens will be definitely a TV show that like the kids can watch. They'll get into it. It'll be nostalgic for me and my wife, and then also like the new generation will enjoy it. So all right, last but not least, we're going to go to the last 2. My number 2 is going to be The Mighty Ducks, D1, D2, and D3. So it's kind of cheating because it's 3 movies, but to have all 3 of them in one place and maybe just binge watch through them will be super awesome. But Mighty Ducks is a great movie. You can't go wrong with it. It's a super classic. We actually me and my wife sat down and started watching some Dawson's Creek with the kids, because I have that whole series on DVD. So it'll be interesting. We were just talking about Mighty Ducks. Joshua Jackson obviously plays the main character, one of the main characters in Mighty Ducks and Dawson's Creek. So definitely going to be an interesting thing to watch that and watch them grow up and through all of the hijinks that the Mighty Ducks got into. And it's it's definitely left its mark on the generations over and over. There's still a team called the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. and so on and so forth. It's a really cool, um, uh, like it's a really cool franchise. It's just the franchise is awesome. All the stuff they got into, um, the knuckle puck, and you know, just everything you can think of is in that movie, and it's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to watch all three of those. Last but not least, one of my favorite shows ever. And I know my brother was pumped because he sent it over to me via Facebook Messenger. Was the show called So Weird. I don't know why, but me and my brother would watch that show all the time. We were super pumped on that one. Enjoyed all of the stories. Had some interesting storylines. It was a little bit darker than like the typical Disney stuff, but it somehow fit just right in, and was very cool. And I know as kids, I absolutely loved it. And I know at least one of my daughters, she likes kind of like weird off stuff like that. Will definitely sit down and enjoy that show. So yeah, so that would be my number one. That's the one I'm most interested in watching when I get this chance to sit down and watch something. So that's my list, and it's a pretty quick one today. That's episode number 10. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you want to know, I would say Disney Plus, definitely a thumbs up. I will give I'll give my endorsement of that product. I haven't really messed around with it too much, but just from what I see, so far, so good. Awesome stuff. And the fact that they're probably going to make more original stuff with it. You also get the Nat Geo thing, and so I'm pretty sure like Running Wild with Bear Grylls is on there. I could probably find that along with a bunch of other stuff. And then obviously, like once I probably get into like checking out ESPN Plus and stuff, it'll just be even better. So, but Disney Plus is for sure a go. I would definitely say sign it up. Probably keep your Netflix, but yeah, find out which one you like better. It's definitely worth spending your $6.99 if you just want to buy yourself, or the $12.99 to get the other two with it. But totally endorse it. So that's the end of episode number 10, and you can follow me at Patch of Black DFS. I do a bunch of stuff, promote a bunch of stuff, and talk a little bit about just random stuff on there. Then Swiss Army Man Pod, I'm going to start posting more on the Twitter, so Swiss Army Man Pod. I'll obviously send out links for the audio and the video of this, as well as occasionally say some random stuff, but I'm going to get a little bit more active on there this week. So yeah, come over there, follow us, and join the conversation. So all right, enjoy your day, and I'll catch you guys next time.